and welcome to Lone Star Live, the #1 place for all things real estate in Texas. Host John Silva is a 20-year veteran of the rough and tumble up and down world of real estate. He's helped thousands of families find and move into their dream homes. John's considered an expert on everything from first-time home buying to luxury homes and even veteran buyers. Join us as we take a look at market trends, what's hot and what's not, what to do, and just as important, what not to do during the home buying process. We'll showcase the top echelon of realtors, builders, and real estate professionals in the industry to help you, our valued viewers, with the best information and guidance available. This gives you the edge in getting your house sold for the highest offer or getting your offer accepted on the house of your dreams. Wherever you are in the home buying process, Lone Star Live can help, so thank you for tuning in as we help you into your new home.
My name is Alexandra Guillo, and I'm a criminal defense attorney in the North Texas region. I'm originally from Bogota, Colombia, and I came here at the age of 4 with my 2 older sisters and my parents. My parents instilled in me the values of hard work and education and giving back to my community. I really held on to those values as I persevered, being an undocumented immigrant for most of my young adult life. I graduated from the University of Texas at Arlington, and with the help of my stepmom, I became a U.S. citizen the same year that I graduated from law school at the SMU Dedman School of Law. I went on to practice as a prosecutor at the Dallas County District Attorney's Office, where I prosecuted misdemeanor and felony crimes. I took a year off to run for office for a Texas state house seat, and now I've been practicing criminal defense for about 2 years. I use a lot of my extra time to fight for causes that I believe in and volunteer for organizations that I love. But most of all, I love to pave the way to increase Latinas in the legal industry.
Hi, hola, my name is Maria Mason, and I am a top producing realtor and founder of Camino Real Estate. I would like to tell you a little bit more about my story. I grew up as a migrant farm worker on the Texas Panhandle before moving to Fort Worth, where I lived in the impoverished Las Vegas Trail area. But despite the challenges of my upbringing, I worked really hard and was able to attend Texas Christian University on multiple scholarships. And soon after, I graduated with a business degree in marketing. My business degree, combined with years of corporate marketing experience and my resolve to overcome adversity, gave me the knowledge I needed to eventually start my own real estate company, Camino Real Estate. At Camino, we provide a luxury service where I am able to use my Spanish and English bilingual skills to serve a diverse community. Within our first year of business, I quickly became a top producing realtor, selling millions of dollars of real estate, and have been featured in numerous magazines, including Fort Worth Magazine, 360 West Magazine, Made Worthy Magazine, and most recently, the TCU Magazine, which I am honored to be a part of. I am passionate about real estate and helping others in the community, and I give back by serving on the TCU National Alumni Board. At Camino, we also continue to offer free community real estate workshops where thousands have attended at no cost. I love helping my clients build generational wealth through buying and selling real estate. And we believe that buying and selling real estate is the #1 way to build wealth for generations to come. I have worked hard to get to where I am today by fighting for each and every client. No one works harder for you and nobody cares more for you than I do. I am Maria Mason with Camino Real Estate, and I look forward to meeting you soon.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Lone Star Live. I'm your host, John Silva. We are the place where you come to know everything in what's going on in Texas real estate. Today, we're actually going to take a little bit of a turn because we always want to also go into things that are beneficial to the community in this great state of ours. And today, I'm very, very happy and blessed, if you will, that I'm introducing these ladies, as you saw on the teleprompter earlier during a live feed, that are basically, for a better word, a catalyst in the Latina community. Everyone knows right now it is or you should know, it is the Year of the Woman. And I wanted to showcase and give just a very loud thank you for these young ladies, these ladies that are doing so much in their profession. And we're going to get to know them a little bit more, talk to them about some of the things that they like to do, and go from there as well. So just so you know, Year of the Woman, I talked to my mom. She goes, Mijo, every day is a Year of the Woman. So just so you know, especially in my family. Okay. So again, this is just something that we're going to do from now on. We're still the source for real estate. But again, we want to make sure that as a community in the Lone Star State, we're giving you more information, everything from pundits, political aspirations, people that are doing something in the community to help people pay it forward, if you will. So we started off by introducing Judge Maria Aceves, right? Alejandra Guillo, Maryanne Mason, Maryanne Piña, and then Cristal Retana. Okay, so everyone has their own career path. In the bio, some of them actually have their bio already before. So I'm going to start off with Judge Aceves and give her, she's a current judge at the 192nd Civil District Court in Dallas. Thank you so much for your service as well. Prior to that, she started her own civil defense work for several years as a prominent defense firm, working with a boutique catastrophic injury firm. She's also intern for a civil district court judge in Dallas County. Some of the accolades, she has a lot of accolades, okay? But top 40 under 40 list by the National Trial Lawyers in 2017-2021. Also under the prestigious Super Lawyers Texas Rising Star List for 2019 and 22. She's a native of North Texas, graduated from SMU. I don't know how to do the sign, so that's fine. From the Didman School of Law, okay? And then next to her is Alejandra Guillo, also in the legal profession, right? So we know a little bit about you already on your bio. Thank you so much for submitting that to us. And I'm just going to give one of ADA for Dallas. Wow, that's incredible, right? What else? You've been very active in the political community as well, moving forward. Maryanne Mason. So
Hi.
Real estate is your life, just like mine, right? Yes, I think you interact with everybody because you get to know them.
Right.
Real estate is, in my opinion, always a people business. No matter how much technology we have, it's still a handshake business. Do we like you? Do we trust you? And you can relate to that across y'all's different careers, right? All right. And then we have, last but not least, Cristal Retana. Okay. So she's been involved in community affairs, government community affairs for over 12 years. She's currently with, if I'm not mistaken here, you're with, let's see here, with Children's Health, am I correct? Children's Health, you're director, am I correct?
Yes.
Children's Health, great. And we're also throwing this event today, this recognition with my partners at the Greater North Texas Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. My colleague, Acela Gomez, Madam Chair is here, okay? We're gonna be talking a little bit more about the Chamber and the influence that we have together on the Chamber. So I wanted to open up a little bit with some of the questions, and then I'm just gonna go down the line. Again, this is for you, ladies. But right now, you can imagine there's another young Latina out there that hasn't seen women of her color or in a position of authority, of power. And that's kind of what in my opinion, my humble opinion as a man, that's what you endeavor to be. You know, you want to be somebody that's, hey, I never saw somebody like that. I want to do what you do or did, etc. So I'm just going to open it up with some questions. And you let me know, and feel free to chime in. Starting off with you, Judge, what was your inspiration to get into this field?
So one of the reasons I decided to run was because I actually interned for one of our current civil judges as well. And I got to work with him twice and got to see the impact that he had on the community. as well as the litigants that came before the court. And so it was a really interesting area for me. I knew it was something I wanted to pursue once I had the sufficient experience in the legal field to be able to preside over such a position. And so it was just the ability to give back to the community in that position, and not seeing very many Latino judges that could speak Spanish, I think, also motivated me to run for this position.
Okay, thank you so much. Alexandra, same question. What motivated you to get into this field? And by the way, your story, you're first generation Latina, you were a dreamer as well.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
So for me, definitely it was being a dreamer, coming here from Colombia. We just grew up in the shadows, but I think looking back, I really think that we had a pathway to citizenship that wasn't the pathway that we took. It was much harder. And so because we were just scared, because we didn't really know any better. I mean, if you ask my father, I mean, John, we talked about this. My dad said I like to argue a lot as a child. So he was like, hija, por favor, te pagan por eso. Okay? Like, let them pay you for arguing. But when looking back in all seriousness, I really did think if we just knew, or if we had somebody that looked like us, or if we had somebody that we could talk to, if we had somebody that we felt comfortable with or trusted, perhaps our lives could have just been a little bit easier. We would have just known or been able to talk to somebody. And so I grew up really thinking, how could I help people? And I didn't have anybody that looked like me or came from a background like mine that wanted to be a lawyer or pursued a passion like mine. And I feel like every year as I keep doing this, I feel like I keep looking for somebody like that. And eventually my mom was like, oh, no, honey, like that's you. And so eventually it just really became this passion of mine to just continue pursuing and pushing that boundary and blazing that trail for more and more Latinas in the legal field.
Thank you. Ms. Mason.
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. And for myself, you know, my parents brought me to the U.S. as well, and humble beginnings as a migrant farm worker. And so grew up, you know, wanting to do better, but not seeing it. And so quickly I wanted to go to college, and I was able to get a great scholarship to TCU and be the first ever in my family to graduate, right? Similar stories to everybody here, right? And so with that, I was able to use my marketing degree for major nonprofits and for-profit companies like Walmart and St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. So 15 years of marketing experience, and I, you know, pivoted to real estate. And quickly I saw that our Latino community needed somebody to represent them, and somebody who spoke Spanish and can, like, you know, understand, hey, my mom, ella no habla español, she doesn't speak Spanish, puedes hablar con ella, le puedes explicar todo, can you explain everything? And that's when I was like, I need to provide a luxury service, which is just a great service to our Latino community. And that's when my passion grew to start Camino Real Estate, to provide a pathway to home ownership, you know? And so I get to use the experience that, hey, I know what it's like being a migrant farm worker. I know how it's like to be, you know, a first gen student to my now TCU alum. So I help, you know, buy homes and things like that. And so just understanding and being able to relate and provide a great service, I mean, that is what I live for. And so I get to do that every day. And so yes, being like Alex said, the first that anybody's ever seen do that, I mean, that's exciting to me, and to be able to share that passion that I have with my community. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Maryanne Piña, you are known as actually one of the most influential Latinas in America. It's a very big title and a very hard work earned title, I'm assuming. You're the CEO of CMP, a global industry for a talent solution firm. You have more accolades than I can mention here, honestly, you know, but, and you've written several books, Don't Dread Monday, addressing in Forbes, doing publications through addressing the Latino career chasm through allyship and development, in Forbes as well, the moral and business imperative of RIF support. And the list goes on and on. But as a man, we're taught it's a masculine world, you know, but as a woman, as a CEO, I'm sure you had it really hard as well, because it's a quote unquote, it's you know, I don't see very many women CEOs I hope we're changing that. I truly do.
Yeah.
But so the question is the same. So what was your inspiration as well?
Well, first and foremost, my inspiration has always been kind of part of the culture, right? It's family. Being born and raised in McAllen, Texas, quickly did I realize that I wanted to leave as fast as possible. If you've never been to the Rio Grande Valley, I love the place. By the grace of God, I have had the opportunity to be where I am today. And so, yes, there's a lot of accolades, but with that comes the sense of responsibility to do what I am doing today. I think from a Latino cultural standpoint, we value so many things that are ingrained in us from a very young childhood. And I'll give you a quick example to what has led me here today. We value the concept of respect, right? And I ask you tonight, do you know the 7 Latino cultural scripts? I didn't, to be honest with you. And respect is one of them. We value the concept of respect so much that when we make it to the table in leadership, it's very hard for us to speak up. It's very hard for us to push back. It's very hard for us to disagree with our bosses. Why? Because mom and dad said, ay, no digas eso. Ay, mejor calladita, right? Well, como dice el dicho, something like that. So, I think that's how we're raised, with a lot of dichos. And so when it comes to navigating corporate America, it's okay to stay true to our values and stay true to our identity, but we need to learn how to navigate corporate America. And that is the reason I am here and do what I do.
Great, thank you so much. Crystal, as the first Latina Mayor Pro Tem for Farmers Branch, congratulations, by the way. That's a very big accolade and success to you. You're also, you went to Texas Women's University, right? And you're just all over the places and help. You're a big, I think of advocacy, and there you are. You're a member of the chamber as well. So that's, I know from a personal standpoint, how much you help out, and you really put yourself out there to help everybody out. So the same question to you, what inspired you to get into this field?
So honestly, my parents inspired me. Growing up, they're from Durango, Mexico, being first generation, I just saw their struggles. And I knew that they came here for a better life for us, for all 6 of us. I have 5 brothers. It was great growing up. But I saw their struggles, and growing up in Mexico, you were going to be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer. That's success. So growing up, that's what I was going to be. But also during that time, I saw the struggles of our community, our Hispanic community, growing up in Farmers Branch, growing up in an era where there was a lot of discrimination. And that's when my mind shifted and thinking, well, how are these people that don't look like me making decisions that are impacting my community and my family? And so that's when I decided to shift into public policy, and I ended up getting an internship in the Texas Senate back in 2009. And that's when I realized this is my place. I wanted to be a voice for those that didn't have a voice. I wanted to make sure that there was people helping these elected officials make decisions that basically affected everybody in a positive way. And so when the opportunity presented itself back in 2019 to run for city council, I had a little bit of imposter syndrome, because I said, well, why me? Why me? And to your point, that happens. We ask ourselves that. And one of my mentors at the time was like, why not you? And so I wanted to be in a space where I was able to make decisions that impacted our entire community, especially our growing Latino community. And now, even at whether it's at Children's or working in public policy or volunteering or being members of the chamber, it's really having a seat at the table, but also stepping up to grab the mic and say something and be an advocate wherever that may be. And so I'm so proud to be able to have that space. And so that's kind of what's really inspired me, is my parents. Just being able to see my parents in all of these different communities and just help them and be a voice for them and be an advocate.
Well, thank you so much, all of you ladies. Thank you. Second question, and I'll start with you this time, Crystal. What was your biggest hurdle, and how did you overcome it?
Working in politics, you can probably tell from the current political climate, it's very interesting. For a lot of it, like I mentioned earlier, it was a little bit of imposter syndrome. There were a lot of people at the time that looked like me. Being one of the very few Latina chiefs of staffs in the Texas legislature was tough. And sometimes I think the biggest struggle is that self-confidence to make sure to speak out. Regardless if I may be the only one speaking out, making sure that I use my power and my seat for good. I think that's probably been one of the biggest struggles, and really breaking through that glass ceiling is so important for us. But a friend mentioned at an event, it's not just about breaking that glass ceiling, but it's about making sure that our future generations, the future Latinas, that their ceiling is our ceiling is their floor. so that way they can continue the path forward. And so I think a lot of times it's our self-confidence that holds us back. It's thinking, are we enough? And so I think a lot of us are here today because we want to show these young Latina ladies, many of them that are in this room, is that we are, and we're able to be here, and we should be here because the future is Latina, and we need to recognize that.
I like that slogan. That's
our Hispanic
That's gonna be a slogan.
Oh, that's our Hispanic Women's Network of Texas Dallas slogan. So.
That sounds like a slogan. I mean, okay. So who's running for re-election or election? That can be a slogan. Okay. All right. Maryanne, please.
Yeah, of course. I think for me, my biggest lesson has been the power of saying no. If we can learn the power of saying no at a younger age, we would come to realize that we don't have to say yes to everything that does not make sense. With that comes the power of focus. If you want something and you're intentional about it, then you have to learn how to say no to the things that don't make sense.
Okay. So, all right. Even with Latino
and that
parents?
goes to mom and dad too. I'm just saying. Mommy, I'm sorry, but it's true.
I was going to say that because my mom has a chancla. So
there you go.
If y'all don't know what that means, Google it. I don't know what to say about that. Okay. Ms.
Yes,
Mason,
and
please.
it's about can you repeat the question?
Yeah, so the question is, what was your biggest hurdle and how did you overcome it?
Oh man, coming as growing up and being a first generational Latina, like we mentioned here, the cultural tells us, or when I was growing up, you're young, get married, have kids, and so I'm like, well, I'm not gonna do that, guys. I'm the outspoken one, like always arguing too. So I get you. I could have definitely maybe been a lawyer, but so always going against the norms, right? And I think sometimes as Latinas, we have to go against the norms, do it differently than everybody else has done and be the first. And so when you are the first, you're just scared and you're like, do I, imposter syndrome, all these, I can relate to all these stories, right? But really the case is, know where you need to be, like we said over here, and say no to things that are not for you. And then when you do show up, the hardest part is showing up sometimes. Even today, I'm still nervous being here, but I show up and I share my voice and I'm my authentic self, and I follow my inner spirit. I'm a big believer in God. And so I pray and I show up and I just do my thing. And so I think, having that faith and knowing that there will be struggles, but getting past that, there's like 30,000 realtors in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I'm in the top 1%. That's a very hard place to get to. It takes a lot of hard work, right? But a lot of faith as well. And so that combination of faith and hard work and knowing that I might be the only one, and a lot of boards that I sit on, I am the only Latina there. And sometimes I do want to be quiet and say, well, what do I have to say? But I don't, I just speak up. And the things that I think weren't that important end up being so important to our community. So, be fearless, speak up, just show up and know that people are looking and they need to see you and they need to hear you because you have a voice to say. Perfect.
Yeah. I think for me, it was, and it kind of carries on through my career, was always wondering, is this enough? Right. And I think it's either, whether you just grow up with immigrant parents or whether you just grow up as a Latina or whether you just grow up in a world of just so much pressure, you have to be the best or you have to seek perfection. And it does kind of come from also saying like, no, where you come out in these burnout phases. And so I think for me, it was always just, I had to push myself the hardest, or I had to prove myself to everybody else. And I think at some point, one of the biggest struggles that I had was reminding myself what my values really are, what my goals really are, what I really need to do, and prioritize a lot of things. And I feel like in every step of my life and every single one of my accomplishments and every different phase of my life, there are moments where I kind of take a step back, or there are moments, one of my biggest grounding things that I do is I call my mom. I know I always feel like I wish I could do something, more powerful, but no, it's always my mom. And so I always call her and I'm always just like, I'm struggling with this, or I'm here, or I'm that. And it's been through law school. It's been in college. It's been now in my career. And I feel like, I think it's okay, especially for just women in general, or women of color, or Latinas, to say, it's okay to either take a step back or not have to be at full throttle 100% of the time. Because at some point somebody just has to put a mirror in your face and say, girl, you're doing great.
Absolutely.
You know, like calm down. And so I think that's one of my biggest struggles is just saying like, you're doing great and you don't need
Girl,
to do
you're
it.
doing great.
Yeah.
You're doing great.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah. So,
And Judge Aceves,
Yes,
question.
I will echo what Alex just said. I mean, just pushing myself to these ridiculous limits and putting all that pressure, especially when you're campaigning and you're running for office, you just push yourself and push your body. So one thing that I've learned is to just really prioritize my mental health and take care of myself and just really be kind and show grace to myself. Not be such a perfectionist and not be so hard on myself, because I am my biggest critic. Yes. And so I would say that I can sometimes be my biggest obstacle, as well as, motivate myself to do great things, but also I can hold myself back sometimes when I am my biggest critic.
Thank you so much. Okay, I have another question. I was thinking, I was actually at the gym, and I don't like when I wrote these questions, and I don't like trainers. I don't know why. Like, I was in the military for so long. I don't like being yelled at. So I'm like, why you're paying someone to yell at you? Anyway, I came up with this at the gym. So, what is your greatest achievement to date?
Are you starting with me?
Yes, ma'am.
Sure. Okay. My greatest achievement are my children. And yes, they are the light of my life. And I am such a proud mom. And so even though I've done all these other great things in my career, I always will say that my family and my children are my biggest accomplishment.
You must have had a beautiful Mother's Day. Yeah.
Oh.
I would hope.
Yeah.
Alejandra?
I would have to say getting an award and doing a speech inside the United States Supreme Court, because it was something that it was unexpected for me, and I got to do it in the presence of my sisters, and I got to thank my parents in Spanish. And so I think that was something that I got to share my story in front of a lot of different bar members. And even afterwards, a lot of people came up to me and said, I'm not sure anyone has ever spoken Spanish inside this U.S. Supreme Court.
Wow.
And I thought, hopefully if I'm not the first, hopefully I'm not the last. And I thought, if I can just thank my parents for everything that they have done, I have at least shared it at the highest court of the land, because that's where they wanted me to be. And I'm not sure that when they brought me here to this country that they thought I would ever be there. And so I was really grateful for that moment.
Thank you.
Yes. Great question. I would echo, of course, my family who's in the audience. I have 2 sons and a great husband who are my big support system. But, beyond that, I would say, I have a home that we bought about a year ago. It's a new build home. And you know what? That was always one of my dreams, to own a new home. Why? Because I grew up in subsidized living. I grew up with a lot of roaches in my home. I grew up with a lot of crime in the Las Vegas Trail community of Fort Worth, one of the worst areas in the Metroplex. And so one of the worst areas in the nation. And I always saw beautiful new homes and dreamt that I would one day own one. And the first day I moved in, the process of just moving into my new home, I'm like, I've achieved the American dream, to what I felt is the American dream, right? And so, things like that, those milestones that we reach, the dreams that we have, that we reach, that to other people might not be that big of a deal, but to us, it's a really big deal. So for me, that was a big achievement, having my brand new home that I live in. And so I thank God every day for it, because it is me realizing the dreams that I've always had in my life. And so, yeah.
Maryanne, what is your greatest achievement today?
Oh, where do I start? Maria is such a better person because she said her kids, right? But,
you can still say that.
No, full honesty. Let me preface this with telling you first my biggest blessing. My biggest blessing is being the daughter of Mexican immigrants, because they gave me the foundation to believe in the American dream. They gave me the foundation that I need, the cultural values, to be a leader in corporate America, to be a leader for my staff, to be a leader for my family. We're a blended family of 5. I love every single one of them. my husband who challenges me every single day. So my greatest achievement stems from my foundation, but my greatest achievement to this day is being the founder of the Latino Career Assessment. And I say that because what I do for a living for corporate America, I had an aha moment saying, we are facing the largest Latino career chasm in the United States and no one's talking about it. So we talk about the lack of representation of leadership, corporate boards, you name it, CEOs. It all ties back to a lack of education and awareness. And the power of that is so important. So my greatest achievement is being able to bring something from theory to practice with the Latino Career Assessment. And it's changing so many lives.
Thank you so much. And let me just throw it. So I'm assuming you present this to your clients as well, right?
Absolutely.
And what has the response been? Just
it's a two-way street, right? So if you give me a few seconds, it's a two-way street. First and foremost, corporate America needs to understand our Latino cultural values to know how to develop and have career progression for Latinos. On the other side, as Latinos, we have to take control of our careers. We have to take control and say, hey, you know what? My parents made that trek to the US for a reason. Every opportunity is out our hands. Is it easy? Absolutely not. Are there obstacles? Yes. Are there barriers? Yes. But this is why these ladies here, who are my hermanas, this is where we lift up each other. And so it's a two-way street. Yeah.
Thank you. And Cristal, obviously not.
Sure. So I have to say my family. I have a 1-year-old little boy, Mateo. He's like the light of my life. And also started walking, so he'll probably start driving me crazy. But I would say second to that, a lot of people would say, oh, maybe it's being on city council or some of the other, accomplishments. But I would say probably one of the biggest things was while I was on council, especially after everything that happened in Farmers Branch back in 2006, a lot of our community felt like they weren't included. And so one of the things that I was so proud of is that I was able to help put together our first ever Hispanic Heritage Festival in Farmers Branch with almost 1,000 people. And the greatest thing was being able to showcase our middle school, our high schools, their folklorical programs, really bring a sense of place and culture, which is something that is very near and dear to my heart. Culture is and tradition is everything for us. But then having a young girl come up to me afterwards and say, I never thought Farmers Branch would ever do something like this. And so I think that was probably one of the proudest moments, because a lot of times we say we want to do things, or people kind of put us down and say it's not going to be successful. I was so nervous thinking maybe only like 10 people are going to show up. But the fact that the community came together and they really celebrated us in Farmers Branch being there and some of our history, despite of everything that happened, I think that was just an amazing moment for not just me, but our community and those people that really felt disenfranchised in that community for so long. So
thank you so much. Let's start back with you, Judge. How do you plan to pay it forward? Or what to if you meet another individual young lady, what is your goal, your plan to pay it forward, if you will? Everyone's had as a son of immigrants myself, you understand the hurdles we have to overcome. Now, how can I pay it forward? That's my question to you. What are your plans to pay it forward, if you will, especially in the Latina community?
Sure. Yes. I had wonderful mentors in my career, so I would love to give back. I've actually been really involved through the Dallas Bar Association. I was the chair of the Law and Schools Committee, and so we incorporate high school students into the legal community through that program. I also sign up for a lot of the mentorship programs through the Dallas Bar Association, and I'm planning on instituting an internship program as well in my court so that we can have our young students learn about the court system, learn about civil proceedings. So that is probably something that I'll be instituting next summer. So I'm very excited about that program.
Alejandra?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty similar to Judge Aceves. I mentor probably every spare chance that I get. Like I said, I didn't see anyone that looked like me growing up being a lawyer. And so I mentor at SMU Law, which is where I went to law school, at UT Arlington, or opportunities like this where I get to be visible. Because I think it's just really important to show our community if it's just one little Latina that could have been me, that just says, hey, there's someone that looks like me, someone that comes from a background like mine, and she's made it, then I feel like it's worth every single minute and second of my day. So it's absolutely mentoring.
Thank you. We talked about that at the breakfast, I remember.
Yeah.
Yes. Maria?
I think continuing to educate our community. I mean, obviously, I'll always educate them on real estate, but another big thing is building generational wealth. I don't think we talk about that enough, you know, and coming again from somebody from subsidized living who had nothing, to talk about 401ks, IRAs, all the ways to build generational wealth, including buying homes, of course. I just want to educate my community that you can be really successful. You can be a millionaire. You can achieve whatever financial dreams that you have. And all you need to know is be aware of those things. And so I want to not only educate them on real estate, but educate them on financial wealth, building wealth. And so I think that's a point that our Latino community is lacking, and that I would like to continue to be a voice for that, because I've seen how if I budget my money right and, you know where to put invest my money, that I can be as successful as anybody else doesn't look like me. And so I think that's a strong voice that I want to be even more part of and educate our community on how to do that.
I would agree 100%. We're in the same line of work.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. When we talk to families and I see, when I ask them, where do you have your money? I have it at home. I'm like, what?
Yes.
That's a lot of money.
It's a serious thing.
Oh, no. You need to go to the bank.
I have those conversations on a daily basis. And I mean, I'll create budgets with people. I'll help as much as I can, because after we reach these levels of success, what do we do with that money? After we negotiate our salaries, what do we do after that? And so that's where I want to be more of a voice for people and an advocate and share what I know. And I don't even know it all, of course, but that's an area that I want to mentor and educate more.
Well worth area to help
We'll
out.
talk more, John.
Yeah. Maryanne?
Yeah, I'm full of stories, y'all, right? So I want you to walk away with something practical. People that don't really think about, and I'm all about careers. So I'm in the human capital space with HR. It's about recruiting, developing, and retaining talent, right? And so when I talk to a lot of Latino professionals, here's something practical for you to understand. Every single one of us, whether we're a Latino, however we identify, we go through these phases of careers. Phase one is you graduate college or you graduate high school and you try to get your first job because you need what? You need money, right? The second phase is, oh man, I'm really great at this. I need a promotion, right? And you make a little bit more money and then you can buy your first house, reach out to Maria. And then you get to the next phase where you're like, I think I'm good. I want to give back. 9 times out of 10, when we help people exit their companies to retire for retirement, they don't want to retire. They want to stay in the game. And why do they want to stay in the game? It's because they want to continue to have that level of impact. So whether it's through mentoring, sponsoring, educating, they want to stay in the game. So taking that away with you of understanding that there's phases, and it doesn't matter how old you are, it's the phase. And it's the power of focus, and the power of saying no, and the power of networking, making sure that you have the right people in your orbit is what matters. So what was the question?
You answered it.
Okay, good.
How are you paying it forward?
So that's right.
Girl, you're doing it. Oh, yeah, you're doing it.
So paying it forward, that's why I said that story. It's because we're at that part of legacy. I think all of us are.
Yes.
And this is why we're here today. This is why we do what we do in our community. Paying it forward, serving on boards. I can't tell you how many times, I have so many stories, but just paying it forward, making sure that you show up when you get the call. Maryanne, can you serve here? Am I free? Yes. Okay, I will show up, because people like you, us, we all need to come together to make our community stronger.
Yes.
Okay, I'm done.
Good job.
Crystal?
I'm gonna need you to stop putting me after Maryanne. So similarly, I will say, if you ask my friends about, if they could describe me in one word, I think a lot of them will say a connector, because I may not have the answer, but I can find someone that may have the answer. I might not be able to help you, but I know someone that may be able to help you. And that's when I'll call my sorority sister, Maria, or my fellow board member, Maryanne, and say, hey, amiga, can you help me with this? And so I think we need to do more of that in our community, our Latina community. We need to be less kind of,
Crabs in a bucket.
Yes, exactly. You know, we need to help each other out a little bit more, right? Because I think if that could happen, then we would have more people in elected office and those types of things. So the way I pay it forward is just being there, being a connector. And one of the things I talked about earlier was the fact that one of my passions, the thing I spent, you know, my free time with other than my family is helping empower young Latinas and getting them to that next level. And so I think one of the ways to do that is, you know, I've been on the board for HWNT for a long time, and we had this idea a few years ago, and finally, you know, I was able to be a co-founder for our first scholarship gala. And that's the way I help pay it forward, is making sure that we raise monies for these Latinas so that way we can get them to college. But not only that, but make sure that they stay in college. And so through the Noche de Carnaval gala, we're able to do that. In our first year, we raised over $20,000. And so I hope to see everybody next year for our gala. But we need to do more of that. We just need to show up, like Maryanne said, show up, have a seat at the table, and be able to give either with their time, our talent, or our treasure, because we do that. And I think it's important for corporate to understand how we do it so that way we can do it more.
Well, ladies, I am humbled, actually, to be perfectly honest, to have you guys here. Great representation of the Latinas in power and excellence. I really hope that as we live stream the audience at your own channels, that there's a little Latina out there, there's a little girl out there. You know what I mean? Right now, that's the biggest thing. You saw The Little Mermaid. You saw all these other things. Like, I didn't know that was me, that the people like me could act or could do this. And that's the biggest thing. You know, when I taught my sons, you can do whatever you want in the United States. You dream big. You have dream as big as you want. You're going to fail, but that's my job to help you get up, to teach you. And I think I take that to heart. And I'm so, again, humbled because you guys are doing that and actively doing that through your roles in leadership, at work, personal lives. And that's another way of paying it forward. I don't know, how much time do we have left before we wrap up? Okay, so I wanted to thank you so much, ladies. We're going to give you an award after. I think it's a little too long because we do have a little obsequio for each of you for being here from the Greater North Texas Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. And we'll do that. But other than that, I just want to give, audience, can you give them a round of applause, please? And I want to personally thank each and every one of you. Okay, and thank you for being on my show. I just know that you guys need to do greater things as well. Okay, so thank you very much, everybody. Again, we're going to be doing more of these type of formats, but we're still, if you still have questions about any of the candidates, panelists here, you want to reach out to me. I'll be happy to introduce you, especially in their fields. And anything real estate, you know who to talk to. Okay, so have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.